without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to our first team of this afternoon's showcase. They are called reCharge!
Thank you. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We're reCharge. This is Sarah, Nick and Kirsty. And our project is a mobile application. It is designed to allow the user to access all of the electric car charging points based on their current location, along with things to do whilst their car is charging. reCharge also offers a journey planner feature which allows the user to find the optimum charging stations during their planned routes based on their car's effective range. Our inspiration for this app has come from our primary focus, which is sustainability. With current travel restrictions in place, we wanted to create a practical app that can be used to provide users with essential and efficient travel options. We decided to provide a places to visit feature to allow users to efficiently charge their vehicle, whether it be on day-to-day basis or on long journeys. I will now go through our recorded demonstration of our app, which we use a 95% new tech stack for. So here we have a user that's registering. We're going to go for Mercy, who's from the game Overwatch, if anyone's ever played it. It requires a full name, a username, password, email, and the car's make and model. And then when you register, that posts to our backend, which we'll see in a second. There we go. So we're going to go for the Peugeot E208, and then we log in. So the login page, we follow through username for the account we just created and the password. And then we will be presented with an alert which we have to enable our location so that the app can find the charging points near you. And then this is the user homepage. So we have the light blue targets which indicate the charging locations near to your current location. We're in Manchester at the moment. So we also have a list along the bottom that can scroll with the names and addresses and a nearby attractions button. So if we click on there, we can see amusements to do. So there's museums, ATMs, restaurants, a number of them in Manchester city centre, so there's quite a few here. So if we go back from there and then we go to plan a route, we can plan a route. So we'll start in Manchester where we are at the moment, and then we'll choose our destination as London, and we'll set it to have a full charge in our effective range. So once this loads, this will present a map of requests which will give us our optimum charging stations from A to B. As you can see here, the reds are origin and destination, and the light blue is our charging location. So if we click on that, we then get places to go to whilst our car is charging. Again, there's maybe not as much things as Manchester City Centre here, but yeah, so there we go. I'll pass you over to Kirsty, who's going to talk about the back end.
So for our backend, we decided to use Ruby for our programming language and Ruby on Rails for our framework, and we also hosted this on Heroku. This was to store our data for all our users and cars using PSQL. We were eager to learn a new language, and through research and spiking, once we got set up, we found the intuitive nature really good for simplifying repetitive tasks. And it was also great for our small time frame. And Ruby overall is a fun language to learn as it's readable and user-friendly. So I'll now pass you over to Nick, who will talk to you about our front end.
Hello. So, none of us had done a mobile app before, so no matter what framework we went for, we were going to be learning something new. In the end, we decided to go with Flutter, which also required us to learn a new programming language in Dart. Now, Dart has some similarities with JavaScript,
but it's strictly and strongly typed, and its approach to object orientation is also quite different. We also made use of two external APIs, OpenChargeMap and Google Maps. And if we just go to the next screen, we can have a look at the route planner. I can explain a bit of how that works. So this particular route is actually, I believe it's from Newcastle to Plymouth. And to get this route and all the charge points, we actually have to make 5 separate requests across those 2 APIs. The first request we make is just to get the initial route, not taking into account charge points at all, and we get that from Google Directions. Then we have to map through the data we've got from that route, find how far along we can get in the route before the car needs to be charged, and then we use that point to make a request to open charge to find the nearest charge point. And in this particular route, we've had to do that 3 times. Once we've got all the charge points, we can make our final request, again to Google Directions, this time telling it that it's got these 3 waypoints that it needs to go through. And then we're able to present that to the user. So I'm going to pass you over to Sarah now, who's going to talk to you a bit about some of the challenges we've faced.
So, the challenges we faced, as you might have noticed from our tech stack, there is absolutely no JavaScript in there whatsoever, which is the language that we've been learning for the past 12 weeks. We understood that we were going to have many challenges, however, we didn't think that we would fall at the first hurdle, which was installation issues. So we had issues loading Rails and MySQL on Linux, and we were very aware that our app was quite front-end heavy and we needed to spend as much time as possible on Dart. So we made the decision to switch to PostgreSQL, which is a framework that we were familiar with, and we knew that it would be hosted easily with Heroku. Following that, we turned our attention to the front end, where we did lots of spiking and researching in tutorials and videos about Dart, in which they told us that it would be a very easy language to learn, especially coming from a JavaScript background. This wasn't quite the case. Although it looks very syntactically similar to JavaScript, it works very differently under the hood. We spent a lot of time going away, doing tutorials, and then we came back together and spent 2 entire days mob programming, making sure that we had the base knowledge of Dart down before we went on with the rest of our app. Because we were using 2 new languages, progress was slow, so our communication had to be absolutely on top notch. We had not 1 but 2 daily stand-ups. We did lots of programming. We had to understand where each person was and at what point they were in order so that we could understand where we were going. We tried to keep our code as dry as possible, separate it out into components so it was readable for the other members of our team when we came to do extra work on different pages. And we also broke down everything on our Kanban board into tiny components so that we didn't get lost down a rabbit hole of new code. Having said that, though, we feel like we've achieved a lot. We've learned 2 new languages. We've learned those with many new frameworks, new APIs. We feel very comfortable with agile practices. We know that we can work really well as a team and support one another. And we've also managed to integrate loads of new tech and get it working together at the same time. So finally, I'm going to pass you back to Nick, who's going to tell us things that we would like to implement in the future.
Thank you. So yeah, one of the easiest things that we want to set up is a new route planner, this time for the locations around a charge point. And I say that's easy because it doesn't require any algorithmic complexity. It's just going to be 1 request, 1 origin, 1 destination. So that's the first thing I think we're going to be able to tick off. We haven't yet got authentication set up properly. So that's definitely something we need to get sorted before thinking about deployment. It is something we've looked into. It's absolutely doable. It's just in the 2 weeks we had, it's just not something we're able to get around to. And I think one thing that we're all keen to do is refactor our code a little, because at the start of the project, we understood a lot less about Dart than we did by the end of the project. And I think we got a much better idea of how to design it and how to organize it. And so we'd like to go back over some stuff and make that a bit cleaner. And then, as I say, go ahead to deployment. So we're ready for any questions.